So there has been a little bit of outrage going on recently, centering around Brandon Sanderson and this Wired article that got released that just absolutely dumpstered on him. Basically, this article is weird and the attacks seem a little bit unwarranted. Let's take a look. Brandon Sanderson is your god. He is the biggest fantasy writer in the world. He's also very Mormon. These things are apparently profoundly related. I came to Wired offices ready to gossip. How'd he do it? Why now? Is Brandon Sanderson even a good writer? Nobody had the first clue who or what I was talking about. As far as I can tell, Sanderson, who has been topping bestseller lists for the better part of the 21st century, has not been written about in any depth by any major publication ever. Not true, which makes sense. Sanderson is extremely Mormon. What makes less sense is why there's a hole the size of Utah where the man's literary reputation should be. Is it because none of Sanderson's work has been adapted for the screen? Well, he wrote 3 of the Real Time books, and the adaptation of the series came out on Amazon Prime in 2021. Could it be, finally, because he's a weirdo Mormon? Sanderson, when I eventually meet him in person, makes versions of these excuses, plus others, for his writerly obscurity. But none of his self-analysis, for my purposes, are exciting. I find Sanderson depressingly, story-killingly lame. He sits across from me in an empty basement, empty restaurant, kind of lordly and sure of his insights, in a graphic t-shirt and an ill-befitting blazer, which he says he wears because it makes him look professorial. It doesn't. He isn't. What is this? You're basically just shitting on him for no reason at all. And he is a professor, by the way. Unless the word means only believing everything you say is worth saying. Sanderson talks a lot, but almost none of it is usable, quotable. I begin to think, this is what I drove all the way from San Francisco to the suburbs of Salt Lake City in the freezing cold dead winter for? For previously frozen dim sum and freeze-dried conversation? This must be why nobody writes about Brandon Sanderson. I mean, this guy is on something, honestly. This is just completely unhinged. You're acting like he owes you something or he wronged you in some way because you drove out to him to interview him. He's doing you a favor. He's telling you about his life because you wanted to write an article about him. So recklessly, I say what's on my mind. I have to. His wife is there. His biggest fan, always his first reader, making polite comments. I don't care. Maybe nobody writes about you, I say to Sanderson, because you don't write very well. I've read 17 of the actual books, or maybe it's 20, exactitude is pointless here, as the major books are all set in the same universe, which Sanderson calls the cosmere. They're all meant to blur together. Okay. Most will hear this and think, at that rate, none of the words could possibly be any good. They'd be right, in a way. That's what Sanderson agrees with. At the sentence level, he is no great gift to English prose. The early books especially. My God, here's a sample sentence. It was going to be very bad this time. Another one, she felt a feeling of dread. There's a penchant for redundant description. Of his own work, Sanderson has said, I detest rewriting. I write for endings and I write to relax. It shows. He writes by one metric at a 6th grade reading level. Okay, this is just absolutely ridiculous. He's a planner. He plans for the book he's going to write before he actually starts writing, and then afterwards he hopefully has to do less rewriting, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do any rewriting. He still does multiple drafts, more rewriting than you evidently ever did on this article. I get it, yes, his prose isn't the most advanced, perfectly written, most metaphorically rich writing you'd ever find out there, but it's not 6th grade reading level. Like the best of Sanderson's ending, my ending should surprise you, because you see, Sanderson actually did say one thing to me, one miraculous thing that stuck that I remember these 5 months later. You're not ready for them just yet. Okay. You need more story first, yes, more of your brilliant story, please. For now, there's only Sanderson, the best-selling writer no writer writes about because writers only know how to talk about words. Sanderson's readers, loving legion, care about something else. This is Dragonsteel 2022, the 2nd annual convention for Sanderson's worlds and works. For now, the fans, even the turned-away ones, are in unconquerable spirits, as is typically the case of these things. There's a general air, warmish, body odored, of unself-consciousness. By my rough count, some 3/4 of the attendees are men. Boys, men, boys. Blowing together in a mass pail of fleshy nerdery in Sanderson-appropriate graphic tees. Talk to as many fans as I can, some in their teens, others in their 60s. I see a young couple of very young kids. Are you indoctrinating them into this fantasy land, I ask, gesturing to the stroller? What nobody, not a single person, complains about in my 2 days walking the past floors is Sanderson's writing. Okay, yeah. What a surprise, you're at a Sanderson convention. It just seems like you're going to this convention trying to talk to some Sanderson fans and convince them how bad Sanderson is, how terrible his writing is. They're all good. Look at his 6th grade level writing, bro. There are no sex scenes, what the fuck? How can you read this stuff? How can you be fans of Sanderson? Still, I can't help but try to trip them up. Surely he's not a great writer. Okay, I prod. Polite, embarrassed smiles. Yes, it's a weird question. You're at Sanderson convention asking, why Sanderson? Oh, I guess, we like his characters, but surely he's not a great writer though, right? Not really though, right? What the hell? They're suspicious of me, I can tell, yeah. You're pretty fucking weird. They probably think I don't know my Kaladin from my Adalin. I do. I even like Kaladin. But what am I saying? Gibberish, most likely, okay? And hypocrisies. Sanderson is a bad writer. Yes, okay, we know you think that. Here at the convention, most of the panelists aren't even writers. People don't care about sentences. They care about Sanderson. Yes, bro. They don't even care about the bad 6th grade level writing, dude. What's wrong with these people? I can't take this anymore. I'm at a Sanderson convention and they think he's a great writer, but I don't think he's a great writer, man. Look at the writing. Look at his prose, bro. It's so bad. Look at the prose, bro. I'm much better at prose. I know what good prose is, dude. I know what good prose is. Oh. Post-Kickstarter campaign, the company is now 50-some people, Mormon strong. Okay, dude, you're so fucking weird. This is the year of Sanderson, the panelists keep saying. 4 new books with special swag for baggers. New toys and sparkly bookmarks. Now they're talking about warehouse expansion efforts. Now they're talking about possible future bookstore housed in Castle or something. When will the Dragonsteel amusement park be built? Someone asks. The audience hoots. All this, I think to myself, is not the spirit of fantasy. If it's world building, it's only world building one thing. The world builder's world. Yeah, dude, how dare he be successful? How dare the fans like him? This is the world builder's world, bro. They all like him, they all give him money. 50 Mormons with jobs, bro? What the hell? How can that be? I mean, it's so weird. This guy tries to take shots at Sanderson for anything. He's just looking at things to shit on him for. And even things that are positive. And it's like, oh, dude, he's satisfying his fans. He's just trying to give his fans exactly what they want. There's no art in that, bro. His writing is bad, by the way. Oh, I corner some regulars in the kitchen. They're gossiping crime jokes. One Dragonsteel's new head of narrative slips the Sanderson feels no pain. It's true, Sanderson's sister-in-law says. Even though he writes for 8 hours a day on a couch, he has no backaches. The hottest of hot sauces causes scarcely a sweat, and the dentist, he refuses Novocaine for fillings. When I ask Sanderson later to confirm this, he does, but I asks if I really have to print it. I'm sorry, I say I really do. No, you don't, dude. You're just fucking looking for clicks. It's only afterward that the real talk happens, because the other talk is not real talk, such as Star Wars debates. When those subside, I bring up the pain thing again. Turns out Sanderson doesn't seem to feel pain of any kind, even emotional. Good thing, you're good. Prodding him is something he doesn't want to talk about. That's great. On the roller coasters, he's dead-faced, while his wife is shrieking. It's sick and wrong, she says, smiling. Yeah, she's joking. She likes to say she married an android. For his part, Sanderson actually, at this moment, looks pained. Yeah? Yeah, does he? We're down in Sanderson's below-ground movie theater, in plush red leather seats that not only recline, but also have adjustable headrests. He wants to show the specs off, so he plays the opening scene of The Greatest Showman. I don't tell him that, while I like musicals, I hate The Greatest Showman, especially Hugh Jackman. The scene starts, the chair shakes with otherworldly sound when lame Hugh, opens his mouth to sing. I can't help it, I burst into tears. We're heading towards something new, some kind of admission, I feel. And let's talk about Mormonism in another way. Let's talk about it as it relates to fantasy, because it's no secret Mormonism is the fantasy of religion. What? The science fiction edition of Christianity, I've heard it called, with its angels and alternative histories, embody God's visions, and plates made of gold. Ask Sanderson if I've got the ultimate promise, virgin right. This is just weird. It's just the bad version of Christianity. It's just fantasy, bro, because Christianity is very real in comparison. Bro, Christianity, dude, that's the real shit. You're just Mormon? Knock off. Fantasy Christianity, how could you, bro? He knows I want to know what he's doing. Writing fantasy books is fundamentally in some way, some very central way, Mormon. Yes, yeah. It's all Mormonism, bro. This is when he speaks the 7 words of truth. The only ones I'm certain he has never said in quite this way ever before. As I built books, Sanderson says, as I sit there, for once entirely enraptured, God builds people. It just seems like you are the one driving this entire conversation to Mormonism and calling anything before he starts talking about his writing and its connection to his faith. You know, that I haven't gotten anything real from Sanderson. I got to get him to talk about his Mormonism because I know deep down you're coming with a preconceived notion of what Sanderson believes and what you think is the truth. It's all just a Mormon cult. He writes because he writes the way he does because he believes in Mormonism. Everything is based in his Mormon beliefs, and he is just a servant of God. He is preaching Mormonism in his fantasy writing. Sanderson shines in these situations. He's your God, but he's your friend too. I think these connections that he draws are very deliberate. The only one of his fan visits that he quotes is one girl that says she wants to take his writing class at BYU, which he knows is a Mormon school. And then he goes on about he's your God, blah, blah, blah. It's very clear the implication here is that he's trying to paint Sanderson as some writer who uses his fame to spread Mormonism and to indoctrinate people into Mormonism in this weird way. And I think that goes back to the questions he asked the fans. Did he indoctrinate you into this fantasy land as well? As I drive us back to the house, drop off the kid, and then stay in the car with Sanderson a bit longer talking about life, talking about worlds, my ending takes shape. The surprise is that it was Sanderson's ending all along, the ending of his best books. The character becomes a god, and the god beholds his planet below. If Sanderson is a writer, that is all he is doing. He's living his fantasy of godhead on Earth. Yeah. It is so obvious what this guy is doing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Written by Jason Cahay, senior editor at Wired, by the way. But yeah, that was just what I wanted to talk about. Some people are dumb, some people are elitist, some people don't like Mormons. Wired doesn't like Brandon Sanderson.